Hello, everybody, and welcome in to the Maize and Blue Reviews Michigan Football Postgame Live, along with Jim Scarcelli, the former Wolverine. I'm Dennis Fithian. Michigan, after going 3-0 on their first two drives, they score 5 straight touchdowns, and then they score 8 straight times. 7 of 8 of those final drives were TDs, and they go on to win it 52-7 over the Indiana Hoosiers. Scar, the Wolverines sink the Hoosiers in a rain-soaked Saturday. How are you?
Hey, I'm great, man. It's a good win, and it's a wet, crummy, nasty day against an Indiana team that really hasn't done much, and mentally you got to get ready to go. And once again, Coach Harbaugh has them ready. We didn't slop around. Indiana does. They're a well-coached football team. They don't have great players. They gave us trouble early, but then the depth and then the numbers. And I keep beating up depth, and people are tired of hearing about Scar talk about depth and playing guys and and getting those backups and reps. And that's what we're doing. We're wearing them down, man. We're playing so many guys on defense, and it's a good win. We got punched in the face early. We didn't blink. We didn't panic. Our quarterback was outstanding. A lot of good things to talk about.
Yeah, I'll give the fans credit that went to that game knowing that it was going to be a downpour, and it was the entire time. And then, extra credit if you stayed all the way to the end. You deserve some special mention being out there, because chilly and the rain coming down like that, even if you dressed for it. But you were paid off with a –
yeah, but Denny, where were the students, man? I'm going to keep it real with you, man. There was a lot of empty seats up there. And I know as a former player, that kind of hurts you a little bit. Those are your classmates, man. And I get it. It's wet. It's nasty. It's cold. But, I don't know. That kind of bothered me. And then, fourth quarter, it was empty. The student section was empty. Old Nick Saban wasn't having that. He just spoke out on that. Remember how he did? So anyway, that bothered me, okay? They need to be there supporting their classmates.
Well, for the final 2 home games, hopefully they'll be there and stay to the end. The Purdue night game and then Ohio State in the season finale. Hopefully they'll be there towards the end. The Indiana comes out there and, they move in their second series right down into the red zone, and they have a player open, but Michigan gets a turnover. Then Michigan had a ton of turnovers. Those turnover buffs got a great workout today, and then they get the touchdown. They're sacking JJ 3 times. They get the touchdown on the wide receiver pass, and they take the 7-0 lead. So it wasn't a great first quarter, but really this game turned late in the second quarter. Because Michigan did score a touchdown on a long drive, and Corum, and it was a nice 11 play. It was like a vintage for this year Michigan touchdown drive, 11 plays, 77 yards. But Scar, Michigan gets it down with just under 2 minutes to play in this game, and they've got a 4th down. It's a tie game, and they decide to go for it. JJ hits Roman Wilson, and it's a touchdown. If they do not get that play, we are talking about a tied game with under 2 minutes to go. And, yeah, maybe Michigan would have been able to get the ball back there and put one of them in. But that just it just opened everything up after that. Of course, they scored 5 straight touchdowns, and they scored on 8 straight drives. It just mixed 1 field goal in there, all TDs. But the ensuing possession from Indiana, you get a huge pass from the Hoosiers for almost 40 yards. But there's the hands to the face. That's negated. That was a gigantic play. And then they punt, and Tyler Morris comes up with a huge return. Boom, boom, boom. 3 biggest plays of the game. Roman Wilson on 4th down, getting the touchdown. The 37-yard hands to the face, and the Tyler Morris punt return. And that's really what turned this game in Michigan's favor, and they didn't look back, and they won it.
Yeah, my early notes was, Tom Allen, well-coached team, terrible matchup for Michigan. And we always struggle moving the ball on them, and they always bleed us and move the ball on us a little bit because he doesn't. They're just he coaches physicalness. They match up with us in the past. They match up good, and then they start making those dumb mistakes that a Tom Allen team doesn't normally make. And we capitalized, and that was, Jim called that 4th and 2 on the goal line. Indiana was confused on defense. They weren't lined up. They didn't cover that route. A lot of mistakes by them, but good play calling again by our offense. Kept them on their toes. We did a lot of different things. Danny, a lot of that pressure, that JJ had on him, and Indiana does a good job keeping the guy contained. They made it harder for JJ to get outside the pocket. So a lot of that was just coaching. And then they had some coverages where guys weren't open so much. And it wasn't, and maybe JJ held the ball a little bit too much. But some of that was coaching, keeping the ball inside the defense. And, Indiana is just one of them games that, again, we rolled them today. But if you looked at the first quarter and a half of that game, it's like a matchup game that's tough for Michigan. But we found answers. We play way more guys. We got much better talent, and it wore them out in the end.
McCarthy gets it going on the first touchdown drive, then comes back on that 4th down and, ends up with 3 touchdowns, 14 of 17, 222 yards. That's pretty impressive just looking at his numbers. And I would also say, taking a look at the numbers of a couple of the wide receivers that came up that normally aren't in the mix there. Already mentioned the punt return by Tyler Morris. He also came up and grabbed a few passes. And then Samaj Morgan had a nice touchdown where it looked like he was hemmed in there and he broke a couple tackles. I mean, it was impressive.
Yeah, he showed some toughness on that touchdown. That's for darn sure. And you look at your stats here. I'm loving what I'm seeing from Jack Tuttle too. To have 2 good, solid quarterbacks that are definitely, if I'm a player on that team and something happens to JJ and Jack Tuttle has to go in the game, I'm feeling real confident. I think that's been established these last few games. So that's a great thing, man. And good to see, real quick, Danny, if you want to get into some offense, it was good to see.
I want to get into everything, Scar. So okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
Good to see. It's good to see that young running back get in the game. We don't know what happened to Mullings, but we could. This is the kind of game you really like to have a Mullings because that inside run, that physical stuff. We didn't have him, but Hall did some great things. He's a physical kid. I told you about him. I saw him back in spring. He's a young, physical, stout kid. Corum was solid, gets the extra yard. Donovan, he is what he is, running the ball, but we bled him out. We got him out of the backfield. He caught a ball, kept the drive alive. Our running backs were good, but Corum, he gets you that extra yard. Quarterback play, the kid was pretty darn good. He's got to feel that pressure early on. Normally he feels it. He did have a turnover. He dropped it, and then we ended up getting the ball back. But we did not have a turnover as a team, right, Denny?
I don't think so.
Yeah, we did not have a turnover. I know we had a penalty. I know one of our receivers had a penalty. But, that's when you're struggling, you sure as hell don't want to turn the ball over and give him any hope. But, we ran JJ a little bit. He makes guys miss. He got outside the defense. I didn't like how we ran him in there late in the game, up 28, quarterback draw. Jim allows it. He's okay with it. I have no idea why we would run our quarterback on the quarterback draw up 28 points against Indiana in the rain. I have no idea, but they allow it. Our tight ends were outstanding today. I think as a group, they played their best game. 89's a flat-out stud. He catches it. He blocked it, blocks. 18, Loveland had a great game blocking, probably his best game blocking. 44 is always a tough kid. Big Trente Jones played a lot of tight end in there on our 2 tight end packages, but I thought our tight ends were good. We dropped 1 ball early. Loveland. The line of scrimmage was outstanding again. I mean, those 3 inside guys are good. Indiana gave us some trouble with some of our stuff, but we ran a lot of the things we wanted to run. And like you say, it was good to see some of those different receivers get in the game and do some and make some things happen. But Indiana, the guy's he's a good coach. We came out in something and they adjusted to it, and then we got to try to make a call to get out of a play, and it was a guessing game early on, but our coaches did some good things. We like that darn flea flicker. And I think they've told JJ, look, just because we run the flea flicker, it doesn't mean you got to go for the bomb all the time. You know, Danny, I talked about the flea flicker because you suck them linebackers up. Sometimes that underneath stuff is easy stuff right there. And we hit them with some easy stuff there. But, you know, good looking offense. Tuttle solid. We get just, you know, I'm glad this game is over. We get ready for Michigan State. I don't care what the hell the score is, the record is. That game is going to be, and it's going to be a brutal. You better be ready to go fight when we go into East Lansing.
Well, an update, Michigan State blew it. Looked like they were going to win that game the whole time. I saw a lot of Spartan fans like, we got our quarterback. We've got our trigger man. We've got our guy. What took them so long? And then they lose the game 27-24. It is a final in Piscataway. So Michigan State is 2-4. So they'll limp into the backyard brawl next week. Scar, I want to go back to something. I know you get a lot of thoughts on defense and special teams, but you know, you mentioned JJ running the ball, Michigan up 38-7 in the rain. He takes a gigantic shot there. He was sacked 4 times. The fourth one was on that last series that he was in there. Then on the third down, he gets smashed from behind, and, you know, he looked a little wobbly. Everybody's holding their breath. This isn't the first time. This has been going on all year long. Like Bowling Green, they're out there, they're running designed runs, and, you know, he's not going down after he gets a first down up the middle. So let me ask you, like, they all know that their season is likely sunk if McCarthy gets hurt, and, you know, in teams that they're pretty sure that they're going to beat, and they're up huge. Do you think McCarthy is just like, you know, he's lobbying for, look, I can, does he have a chance to audible a play where he can call his own number? He is a dual threat quarterback. Dual threat quarterbacks do run the ball. Lamar Jackson runs the ball in the pros. Josh Allen, Bills fans are always saying, hey, you got to let your running backs do it. You got to get down. You know, you're the franchise. McCarthy, they keep saying, well, he's a hockey player. You know, and obviously he loves the contact. So I don't know. They recruited him. Do you think, as part of him coming in here, he said, look, I want to be able to run the ball?
Yeah, I listen, when he runs the ball, when the pass protection breaks down, that's one thing that happens.
I get it.
I'm all good with that. I'm all good with running him, you know, when we're up 14. You know, I'm all good with all those predetermined runs, those called quarterback run. I had just a problem with one play. We're up 28 points, and we called a predetermined quarterback draw. I just don't understand the point of that.
Well, last week, you got all the running backs. He was lowering his shoulder, and there was no Michigan fans that said, oh, yeah, JJ, keep lowering your shoulder. In fact, everybody was like, don't do that. You can't do that. You know, let somebody else run the ball in there. So why is he doing that, and why are they
listen, you know, the him putting it, you know, I don't want to get in. I'm not going to talk about last week, but this week I just saw that one play, and if I'm coaching him, he's not going to be able to audible that stuff. Okay, that's not something that I would, you know, let him audible to a quarterback draw. I don't think so. But Denny, these are just things that coaches have different opinions on. I gave you mine. Yeah. We're up 28. He ain't running quarterback draw. It ain't happening. I'm telling that offensive coordinator, he ain't running the freaking ball, period, unless he has to. And I probably would have had him out a little earlier, but that's just me. And coaches disagree, man. And it's just one of those things that, you know, we disagree on. If you know, listen, the kid.
Something else before you, were you going to say something more about the offense? Because I have another question on the offense.
Well, what else I got on the offense? I thought we just good mix, man. Good mix of mixing it up, you know, and off, you know, the run pass, and, you know, even though I get frustrated because we came out throwing and we dropped the pass, but I just think you have to do it in the long run. If I'm defending Michigan, the inconsistent, hard to predict Sharon Moore and the collaboration, it's gonna have its benefits in the long run. So. You know, that stuff is all good, man. And, you know, in IU, he did some good things, mixing up coverage early on and pressures. And And they just do the little things. Indiana does the little things. And if that guy ever gets players, look out. He's got the toughest job in America. I think he really does of the Power Fives. They have to recruit in the state of Indiana against two other big schools and play in the Big Ten East. The guy's got the toughest job in the country, but it is what it is.
All right, let me ask you. Donovan Edwards scored his first touchdown, and it was late in the game. Earlier in the game, it was towards halftime. Michigan's up 14-7, but they get it down there. The clock is running a little bit. He had a shot, talking about Donovan Edwards, to score on the first down, and they got it down to the 1. And I think everyone is like, give Donovan Edwards the ball here and let him score a touchdown. And, the announcers are over there saying, Blake Corum's calling the timeout. Well, Michigan called the timeout. And they put Corum in there, not Edwards. Now, you can make a case, hey, Edwards had a couple cracks there. But you can also make a case that why wouldn't they feed him there? Why don't you get Donovan Edwards going? Now, they had a timeout. They didn't have 2 timeouts. It was second down. But what did you make of Corum, not Edwards, with the
– What was the score at that time, Denny?
14-7.
Oh, no, I got absolutely no problem with Corum because Corum's going to get you that extra yard, period. Okay, he's going to break the arm tackle. He's going to knock over a linebacker a hell of a lot more than the likelihood of Donovan Edwards doing it. Listen, man, between the tackles, there's no question Corum is a better running back. And same with Mullings and Hall than Donovan Edwards. But Donovan Edwards, when he's in the backfield, he gives you the other things that motioning out, shifting out, but I totally understand that call because I would not want to see the arm tackle bring Donovan Edwards down, and that's it. If we're up 28, that's a different story. But 14-7, no, I totally get it. There's just a difference between the two players, Denny. When you need 6 inches, you need 2 feet. I want Corum, Hall, or Mullings in the game. Period.
Well, they were 1 yard down to the 1 yard line, and Edwards was in there. So they still had a timeout. It was second down. Now, if he fumbles, you say, what the hell are you doing? Go with your best short yardage guy. And like you're saying, Corum clearly is their best. If you want to make a case for Mullings, of course, he was hurt today at the hand injury, so he wasn't in there. But, Edwards, from what he has done last year and then trying to get him going, I know you're talking about the score. If if you're telling him, plow it in there from the 1, if he gets stopped short, well, then you can bring Corum in and you get another crack at it. Right. Okay.
I don't know. I just know that,
because it's second down and you call the timeout, it's third down. And if you get stopped there, you don't have the ability to stop the clock and kick
I don't know, Danny. 14-7 in that situation. I'm not worried about the feelings of my running back. I want to know who's going to knock over a linebacker, and if a linebacker's unblocked, who's going to knock him in the face and score.
Well,
okay, I think Corum.
I hear you're not worried about the feelings, and also, like I said, they had a timeout. But if you had 2 timeouts, you could make a case like, all right, well, if he doesn't get it, it's third down. You could put Corum in there, and then if he doesn't get it, you call a timeout, and you could kick a field goal. If Edwards gets stopped, well, the next thing you know, you don't have the luxury then of the safety of a timeout. You've got Corum back there, and if he doesn't get it, well, then you're screwed. When it comes down to, like, there was only 11 seconds to go, and there's going to be less than that if they don't get it. So, now that I've walked through it, I think it's completely understandable. Sure, you want to get Edwards going and everything, but you only had 1 timeout. So.
Yeah, they're not going to be overly concerned about the psyche of your players to a certain point. I think as a coach, Danny, yeah, you're concerned a little bit about the psychology of your team as a whole, about individual players as a whole. Do you yank this guy out at certain times? As a player, you just have to understand that, man. And if you don't like it, prove to the coaches that, you should be in the game at those times. But I get it. As a coach, you can't get caught up in all the feelings and the psyche of certain players.
Well, obviously, when they were up 38-7 and they got into the fourth quarter, there was an effort to get down in Edwards the ball down at the line, and he scored. So at that point, you maybe you are into your feelings a little bit, or
because it wasn't as risky.
Right.
He's up 28. And okay, that might be a little different deal there, but
Well, that is that's a better deal, right?
listen, man, I'm with you with Donovan. His strengths are not as much as the other guys, but he does other things they can't do. When he gets out of the backfield, he's a problem. In the long run, obviously we need to have three. And I'm just so glad that Hall got reps, Denny. Think about it. I mean, now we got Mullings hurt. If we get if Corum or Donovan, if one of them get dinged, if something happens to one of them, man, this freshman's the second running back. That's where we are. So I'm glad the kid got reps. He looked physical, he looked tough, and he secured the darn football. So they got to feel good that maybe we have 4 that can play right now. They feel confident with.
Yep. No, I hear you on that. All right. On the defensive side, we mentioned, the second series, IU moved down there. You get Sanders still with the tip. Rod Moore comes up with the interception. And then, you had a new offensive coordinator, and you had to say after that second series, and then they get the double pass for 44 yards to take the 7-0. They had something working there in the first quarter, but then Michigan just shut it down for the rest of the game. There was nothing after the first quarter.
Yeah. Hey, Tom Allen, they got physical, tough kids. That offensive line they were moving our guys, man. They were moving 78 in there. They were moving 26 in there. I don't care what anybody says, 94 and 55. And I hate to keep seeing that difference between them and the other guys, but those other Kenny Grant, they got to get better at playing double team. Him and Benning, they got to get better at playing the double team. But 94 and 55, those two are as good as they come. We didn't adjust right. I don't know what Saab was seeing, but Indiana, I give them credit. That touchdown, they motioned to a 41 formation, an empty set. I don't know if he ever saw that formation. I don't know if he felt the 4th receiver on that side of the field, because all he saw was the 3. He came up and run support. And that 4th kid they put in, that's what, I give Indiana credit for that. That's what I always talk about. Coaching is scheming and deceiving and fooling. And it isn't always so much that, maybe we're, we didn't get it right as coaches or players, but, give them credit. They fooled us, man. And we made a mistake there. And it's a touchdown. We got to learn from it, but there was a mental mistake there. But let's go through some things on defense real quick.
I got
we started the game.
Go ahead.
Well, Denny, we started the game in a 3-3-5 look. Once again, Minter, it was a different. We haven't shown it. We had a three-man front. It looked a little different. Things I'm seeing, man. We bring pressure. We get to a quarterback, Denny. We don't hit him in the face. We don't hit him in the helmet. We don't have the dumb penalties. All those things are coached. A couple of times we came and hit their quarterback. We brought Page, we brought some people, and I just saw it. I wanted to point it out. That stuff is coached, and it's real good stuff. But hey, Sanders tipped that ball. Danny, we could have been down 14-0, man. We don't get them because they were rolling. 10-0 at least. They were rolling on that drive, so that was big. But I thought our edge players were okay. Some guys were just we got pushed around a little bit at times. We got, number 8's got to get better against the run. He's got to keep, he just got to keep getting better. And I don't understand how we defend that slant. We drop our edge guys and they keep missing the slant and the teams keep running it on us, but it is what it is. Linebacker play was solid. I thought they moved Kenny Grant a few times, knocked him off the ball. Good has been solid. He keeps getting better. He's a solid rotating guy in there. Is Big Cam Good, but Sanders was pretty average in a lot of ways. He let the ball outside the defense a couple times. We brought him on a blitz. He would have hit the quarterback right in the face. Our coach called the right defense, and Sanders just missed him. I don't know if you remember that play where we got the right call on. He just got it. That's why I never liked bringing corners and safeties much as a defensive coordinator, because they don't get enough work in practice containing quarterbacks. And that was just, should have been a sack, but I'm upset they got 10 points or 7 points, but it could have been better. But Danny, a lot of guys played. Again, we cleared the bench, and great point by Dunn here. Minter's adjustments are great, and we don't wait till halftime. We keep throwing it at them. You hit us with something on one play. We're not going to wait till halftime to adjust, and he'll. We didn't run any base at all today, Denny. I didn't see any of our base defense that we ran against Minnesota. So, again, it gets back to scouting Michigan. If an offensive coach is going to scout Michigan and say, what do these guys do? What do they do against that formation? What do they do against that personnel group? Well, good luck figuring that out, because Minter might do one thing against Minnesota with that formation, and he did another thing against Indiana in that formation. You follow me, Denny? And that's where it's hard for offensive coordinators to say, okay, what's Minter going to do? Well, good luck, man. And that's a sign of a smart coach, but it's demanding for your players. Your players have to be smart. And we really only had one big mental mistake was the double pass, for the touchdown.
Yeah. 44-yarder in the first quarter. My favorite play defensively was Mason Graham coming up with the turnover and then him running like a fullback and with that club on his hand, like, I don't know, broke a tackle or two. And, that was pretty awesome. And then the picture with the club and Club Mason. It's amazing what that guy can do with one arm.
Yeah, kid's a heck of an athlete, just a great team guy. I just talk about that team guy attitude. I hear all these players talk about team and selfishness and JJ talks about it. And I hear all these guys talk. Let me just tell you, Denny, that all starts from the top. It all starts from Coach Harbaugh and it trickles down, and it's something that's pounded into him, man. So what do you got there, Antoine Scar? We ain't got time I can't read that whole statement there.
Time to be playing around. That's what he's talking about.
Oh, yeah. I guess maybe he's talking about my thoughts on Donovan or getting him out and not worrying about hurt feelings. But yeah, we got to keep getting better. We're 7-0. We go to East Lansing, and it's going to be a fight. They're going to run two quarterbacks at us, Denny. They're going to run them. They're going to run those quarterbacks, and that always makes it tough. That always makes it tough to defend them. They got players, man. They got two good running backs. They got an offensive coach that is tough to figure out at times, and so it's going to be we play them on grass. I'm hoping for a nice dry day. I don't want rain. The weather report's looking nice. We want a fast track when we go up there on that grass for the first time of the year, Danny, and it looks like that's what we're going to get. But we're right where we want to be, man. Playing a lot of guys. A lot of guys got reps. We keep getting better. Game 7, getting better and improving, man. We got punched in the face and we responded. We didn't blink. We didn't flinch. And things are good.
Yeah, I like Makari Page early in that game coming in, bearing down on the quarterback and putting a shot on him. You mentioned guys getting in and playing. Rashawn Benny had a couple tackles. TJ Guy. Michael Barrett had the sack, the strip and fumble recovery. That was pretty good, individual play. And then Keyshawn Bennett there at the end. He had a good spring game. Remember watching some of that tape. He was in there and played well late, but you go through there. That's a lot of guys that are in there and playing. Guys got a lot of experience. And now, and you're getting here 5 games to go at Michigan State, at Penn State, at Maryland with Purdue and Ohio State. Man, it's championship time. Good to see Amarian Walker playing. Keyshawn Harris continues to get in there. Rod Moore had the interception, right? And Grant and Grant and Harrell. I mean, these guys are Quentin Johnson. You keep going down there. I mean, they're playing a hell of a lot of players. They're all getting a lot of time, and they can bring it. When you're sitting around and Josiah Stewart's down at the bottom of the list when you're looking at tackles and a half sack and everything else, man, you're doing pretty well.
Yeah, and when you play all those guys, Denny, it just, I get it from a guy who started, and played. We didn't rotate as much back then. All those, the hits add up when you're a starter and you're playing, 70, 80 plays like back in our day. These guys are playing, 35 reps, man, snaps, and it's great. It keeps you strong. It keeps you fresh. You limit the hits, and it's a great thing for practice. And you mentioned a guy there that we haven't talked about enough, but Page has really improved, man. That kid is really improved as a football player. He's good in coverage, and he plays a lot more physical. He's gotten bigger, better, stronger. So Page out of West Bloomfield, just want to mention him as a guy that's gotten better.
Mark wanted to know where Khalil Mullings was. He popped up on the injury report before the game, and so he was not available. And just hope, they've got a lot of depth there. Yeah, who knows how long? If he could come back, and if it's against against Michigan State up in East Lansing, maybe. But as you look at it, you want him back as soon as possible. But I think Michigan can take care of Michigan State. I think they can beat Purdue. And those last 3 games, man, you feel like having everybody that you can have ready to go to Happy Valley on November 11th. That's a key. Heading to Maryland and then Ohio State for the season finale, trying to go 12-0 for the second year in a row, getting all these guys back,
I ain't thinking about none of that, Denny. I ain't thinking about none of that. I'm thinking about East Lansing, those guys in green, nothing else, man. They will be coming for us, man. Their whole season will be on that game, okay? We're playing them at night. The crowd will be crazy. They'll be drinking all day. It'll be nuts. It'll be a tough, loud environment. If we mess around and do something, the most important thing in that football game for Michigan, I'm going to tell you the most important thing in that game. And if we do this, we're going to win the game. Secure the darn football. They won't beat us driving on our defense. Okay, they won't. Let's secure the ball. If we get stuffed, we punt the darn ball. Okay, make them drive the ball on us. But that place will be a tough football game. I ain't worried about Purdue in them other games. Forget that. Let's beat these guys, man, because they're coming for us and we're coming for them. You better be ready to fight.
Well, Jim Scarcelli, a former Wolverine, a longtime high school football coach. You sound like a coach, me looking ahead down to Penn State and Ohio State. You're not having any of that. And I remember last year when Michigan, they beat Penn State, which was, a pretty noteworthy game. Penn State had a, top run defense. Michigan smashed them 41-17. And it was right after the game in the tunnel that Blake Corum was like, we're on to Michigan State. He was already, focused in on MSU, and, they've got that kind of team. I don't think they're going to be sitting around
because the coaches instilling that, Danny. The players repeat what they hear. And, this number 1, number 2 ranking, you got to block all that stuff out, man. It's like, okay, it's great that people respect us, but does being ranked number 1 or number 2, does any of that affect? These are the things that coaches used to talk to us about. Does it affect what time you go to bed at night? If you're ranked number 1 or number 2 in the country, can you stay up a little later if you're ranked number 1? Can you go out maybe and, can you sleep in a little more if you're ranked number 2? Can you be late for class if you're ranked number 1? When you come down to the football building, what does that mean? Maybe you can screw around a little more? No, man. All that 1, 2 rankings, you got to forget all that and just stay pissed off and stay focused and in one day at a time, one practice at a time. And I know I keep beating it up, sounding like a coach, but that's what they're hearing from Harbaugh.
Well, you are a coach, a long-time coach, Scar, so that's why you sound like one, and that's what you're hearing. All right, let's get some final thoughts in here. If you got a question or two that you wanted to ask Scar, make a point on this game coming up, we can do that. Let's do it. And let's, Antoine says, screw the respect. We don't need to respect anybody. If we take care of business, all that silly stuff will take care of itself. I think
right, Antoine. That's right, baby.
Yeah, well, there are people that, look at Michigan's, 7-0, they're the number 2 team in the country. But when, if you could just separate yourself for a second, when you talk about rankings and you talk about the top 25, and soon we'll talk about the college football playoff poll that will come out. you put the teams up there and it's a beauty contest. And yeah, Michigan's beautiful, but just like Cindy Crawford back in the day, you might say, she's got a little bit of the birthmark over here. Well, that's what you do. And so you will look at Michigan and you will look at their schedule. There's no reason to get upset about that if you're a Michigan fan. If Michigan was sitting there like at 7 or 8 and all these teams were in front of them and, you'd be like, man, but look at how we played. We're better than these teams. You don't have – look at Michigan. Michigan's name carries a lot of weight. Where they have been the last 2 years with their head coach, they are firmly entrenched right now at number 2. They're in the perfect. I mean, you can't ask for anything. Don't worry about it. If they were outside the top 4, you could say, yeah, but I wish they were number 3. What do you wish? That they were number 1? Sure. I mean, you could be upset and say they wish that they were the number 1 team, but it's coming. It's happening. Winter is coming, and so too is November, where you play for a championship, and they'll be able to prove it all then. So that's one of my final thoughts, Scar. Don't worry about that number 2 ranking and people saying that, well, they haven't played anybody. I mean, they have a point. So
yeah, no, great. Let's just keep winning, man. Doing one day at a time, and there's no trophy for being ranked number 1 after 7 weeks.
Is Jesse Minter? Does he have a little Bill Belichick in him?
Yeah, he does, from the perspective that he'll totally change his scheme. What he did against Indiana versus certain formations and against certain things, and he'll totally change it so that the offensive coaches can't get a beat on what he's doing. And also, I want to mention this because some guys were beating me up about Scar always talking about option because they were that's what they ran 40 years ago when old Scar played. Well, let me tell you, Indiana runs option. And they ran a ton of option early in the year. So you had to be ready for it. And they ran it a few times today, and we stuffed it because we were prepared for it. Okay, so that's coaching. We were prepared for their option, even though they didn't run it a ton. But our coaches had our defense prepared for it. I could tell our guys knew who the hell they had when we ran option. So that stuff wasn't by accident.
Well, my final thoughts, Scar, that if Jesse Minter had not been the defensive coordinator last year, I think you could say, wow, what's going to happen when it gets into November? We saw Jesse Minter at the controls last year. We saw a lot of this personnel on the field last year, and we see Minter, he looks like he's in more control and a better defensive coordinator than he was last year. Last year, he waited till halftime. Now he's waiting in the first quarter, even the second series, and he's, making his moves and everything. He's on top of it. Michigan, the way they're flying around, the rotation that they have from their edge guys, the biggest thing is they got Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham. I mean, they are bringing it, and Chris Jenkins. I mean, they have the best defensive tackles in the country. Their edge, they got a lot of depth. I love how the linebackers playing, and they've played so many safeties and corners that when it does get to now championship time, like coming up against a rivalry game this Saturday, I feel great about the Michigan defense. Offensively, wherever it's crazy, but the running game with all the backs and the offensive line and the rotation, they can even get better. They've been really good. They can get better. But J.J. McCarthy, McCarthy today, when he rolled out and ran up to that line of scrimmage and threw the ball to Colston Loveland for, 54 yards for that touchdown. What you're watching there is a playmaker. You're watching somebody special. You want to know, hey, how can Michigan win it all? How can Michigan win the Big Ten? How can they get into the college football playoff and win a championship? Number 9, making the difference, making plays like he did today. This guy is special, and he's got a ton of players around him and the coaching to get it done. If I'm a Michigan fan, I'm on cloud 9 right now with McCarthy and the way that he's playing right now and the way they're rolling up into East Lansing.
Absolutely, Denny. You're fired up. You're confident, but you're still humble, and you still know that you were down 7-0 against Indy. There's some good things to learn from this game. We were punched in the face. We were down 7, real close to being down 14, and found a way to overcome. So we're mentally we're in a good position. We know we're good, but you got to have a great week of practice, and we're going into a real tough game we got coming down the road, man. But I'm fired up, Danny. My final thoughts is I'm fired up. We're right where we want to be. We keep getting better. It's a great situation, man. Let's get a big running back. We need the big guy back.
7-0, the Wolverines. They win this one 52-7, and they're on to East Lansing in a night game up in at Spartan Stadium. Woo! We'll talk with Jim Scarcelli on Monday afternoon. Scar, it's great having you impart all of your wisdom and tell everybody what happened, and talk about this game. Have a great rest of
Danny, I'm going to close. I remember when we beat Michigan State in East Lansing back in '85. I remember coming home. And I know the coaches Coach Agassi used to like to bring out the cigars. Okay. Hopefully the coaches will fire up a cigar on the way home from East Lansing. Go Blue.
There he is, Jim Scarcelli, 52-7. Thanks for watching.